world is changing.
I'm looking to do things better.
To improve.
Just because it's always been that way doesn't mean it's right.
I embrace change.
I seek adventure and discovery.
I explored and explored.
To know the unknown.
Even in the toughest moments, we ride together.
Even in the moments when we're at our limits.
We support each other. It's time to move up a level.
Push that little bit harder.
Changes we make now will make the future better for all.
The efforts we put in today
will pay dividends tomorrow.
We all have the power to up the game.
To build something better.
It's not time to play.
It's time to get real.
It's time to be a game changer.
Hello, welcome everybody. My name is Chris O'Hearn. I'm the organizer of TNT. This is the first week I get to commentate on my own event, which I'm really looking forward to. So what we do tonight is an Omnium. It's 4 races. There they are on the screen for you. Race 1 is a scratch, race 2 is a sprint, race 3 is a time trial, and race 4 is an elimination, or a devil, as we call them in the UK. So race 1 is coming up in just under 3 minutes now. It's a scratch race. Traditionally on the track, there's often a warm-up race, which is just to get everybody's legs spinning and get everybody used to being on the track. In this event, we start in the Omnium here, we start with a scratch race rather than do them all on the track. This one is, we're calling it Romanian 8. It's a magic road. It's been created by Samir. Actually, I'm not sure how to pronounce his last name, so I'm not going to try. Samir. Anybody who's on Magic Roads and on RGT will know Samir, know who I mean. He's one of the geniuses who does fantastic roads and fantastic routes. I've used a few of his. This one is sort of figure of 8. It's based on a fantasy track in Romania. I don't think it's actually a real road, but it's a fantasy located in fantasy route located in Romania. Romania, of course, is the home of RGT. It's where RGT's head office is based. So it's a bit of a homage to RGT. It's each lap is 1.6 kilometers, so about a mile in imperial money. And you'll see that they cross over. So you might see some of the riders crossing over each other as they go around the laps. So it's a scratch race. It's just like a road race. 5 laps, it's drafting, and it's literally the first person to cross the line. The way the Omnium works, for those who aren't familiar with that, you sign up to all 4 races, and the person with the lowest total over the 4 races is the winner. So if you come 5th in, say, the first race, you get 5 points. And then if you come 12th in the second race, you get 12 points. So what you're really trying to do in the Omnium is keep keep the highest finish you can and keep your score as low as possible. So it really rewards consistency. Sometimes we find that people are very good at sprinting. Myself, I'm very good at time trialing. Well, very good is probably more generous than I should be, but time trialing is my thing. Not so good at the sprinting, and the scratch, you know, I always find quite difficult. So we've got about 30 seconds now until we line up. What have we got? 90 riders on the line. So this should be quite a good race. It always starts off very fast. So what we'll see very soon is riders starting to warm up. If you look next to their names, you'll see at the moment it's mostly blue bars, but you'll see some of that start to go orange and red and yellow, and that indicates the power that they're putting down. So it always starts. Here we go, 3, 2, 1, and we should be off. There we are, Mike Murray there in the red from the start. Well done, Mike. And they go off now. You've got a few people still hanging back at the start. Easy start for some of them, but they're up the front. Look at all those red numbers on the front there. The starts are always really difficult. Who are we watching? Birch. They're going at 300-400 watts in the start. It's always very, very hard when the racing starts. First minute or so, especially in the first race, the first minute or so, people have got a lot of energy in their muscles. They've got a lot of glucose. They've got all that lactic energy there. That will go pretty quickly as oxygen debt starts to come in, and their legs start to hurt and the muscles start to hurt, and it should calm down. So we're now coming up to the end of the first minute, and we've got a pretty big bunch still pretty much all together. Hard to tell, but I don't think there are many off the back at the moment. I can see a couple just coming around that corner, but mostly still together. This course has a few corners, but it's got some long straights, so it should be pretty easy for people to stay in the bunch. But I think as we go along, the riders, especially some of the faster riders, will put some of the power down at the front, and it will start to break up. What you can find on some of these corners is riders get thrown out to the side and they lose a bit of draft. They have to push a bit harder to get back into the bunch. And they can do it, but it just becomes a bit easy. See there, you can see in the distance there, the bunch has strung out a bit. A few people just on that corner probably were in the wrong place, weren't used to doing the corners, and got a little bit spat out the back, and they have to make a real effort to get back on. And as we say, that's all about burning matches. Here we come up to a very tight corner. So this, I think, will catch a few people. If they aren't ready, they'll find it hard to get back on. And there we can see a couple off the back again. See it stretching out a little bit. What have we got there? That's the end there. So we've got a bit of a bunch there of probably 10 riders there in the 70s. They've already been spat out, so they'll be racing together. That's good that they've got a bunch. They should be able to keep a good pace. So we're coming up to the end of the first lap now, and what have we got here? Maiden crit. Oh, here we are back at the beginning. So a few of the names here: Lambert, one of the regulars, I think, from Canada. Got Mike Murray up the front. Mike, I've ridden with in some of the team time trials. Birch. McIntyre, Alan McIntyre, with the Scottish flag there. He's one of the regulars. I think he's done pretty much every one of the TNT events. So we've got some of the regulars, they know what's happening. There's Mike Lister there up the front. He's always on the front, and he will be trying to he'll be one of the people who is trying to win this scratch race. He's been doing very well in the Omnium and in the track league overall. So apart from the Omnium, which is on the night, there's also a track league, and the top 10 places in each race get points towards the monthly track league. And it's often interesting that people can do quite well. Up there we see the view looking down on the other track. As the field gets spread up, we might start to see people down below. So yeah, as I was saying, people who can do quite well in the track league because they get a very high placing in 1 or 2 events. You know, they might come first or second and they get 12 points for first or 10 points for second. But then in the Omnium, maybe they're not so good at a time trial or the Devil, and they get a lower score in that, so they don't do so well in the Devil. But if you can pick up somewhere between 10 and 20 points each week in the track league, then you'll be doing very well overall. So what are we now? We're looking at the front bunch. Hard to tell, but I think that's starting to whittle down now. I think maybe we've got 40 or 50 riders still in this front bunch. There's another tight corner that's going to test them. And what happens if you're up the back of these bunches is you just burn your matches. You get spat out the back, you get pushed out a bit on the corner. You can get back in the group, but the more you do that, and the more you have to do that in a race, it just takes up a bit of energy, and over time you lose that edge. You lose the ability to keep up, and there'll come a time when you just can't close that gap anymore. I always think of it as it's like ice breaking. I've been in that situation. I used to ride a lot out in the Middle East, and we had a lot of crosswind. Anyone who's ridden in a crosswind or seen it in professional racing will know that an echelon forms across the road, sort of like a diagonal line across the road. And once that echelon forms, and if you're not in the right place, and the gap is just impossible to close, it's like seeing a crack in ice in front of you, and you just know that you can't get across that crack, and you're going to fall in at some point. So here we are now. We are about halfway through now. 4 kilometers done, just under 4 kilometers, a bit over 4 kilometers still to go. And we've still got a bunch of about 40 or 50 off the front. There's Mike Lister showing his face, putting his nose in the wind up the front. Or is he making an attack? Go, Mike. Oh, this is a brave move halfway through. Oh, well, if it was an attack, it was short-lived because he's being chased down there by PDQ and a few of the others. Lambert's still there. Oh, that bunch has definitely got smaller now. I'd say we're definitely under 40 in this bunch. So those corners are taking a toll. I think people are being spat out as we go around the corners, and that's getting down to now the selection in the race. Yeah, I can see 35 there. I'm just looking for numbers up the back. Matthew Drujon there is another. He will be fighting it out with Mike for sure. Matthew Drujon usually comes away with winning at least 1 race in a week, and has also been doing very well in the track league. So here we are now coming up to the end of the 3rd lap. They'll be crossing the finish line in a moment. There they are, 3 laps down, 2 laps to go. So this is often where somebody can try and make a break, although we haven't seen that many in the scratch races. But second last lap, that would be the time. It's a time when you can get away in a race, because people who have a fast finish don't want to necessarily chase you down. And if you can get away here, especially if you can get a small group, sometimes you can get a break going without having to put in too big a power, but then you've got to be able to keep it going to the end. We've probably got another 3 or 4 minutes. I haven't had a check actually. So what are we doing about, was that just under, 2 and a half minutes per lap, I think. No, a bit less than that, probably just over 2 minutes per lap. So we're probably going to get about 3 minutes left in this race. We've got Matthias Bergqvist up the front. He's another regular, also often in top 5, sometimes winning the races. He's also a very good time trialer. So if he can do well in the crit, then he will also be doing well overall. So who have we got up front? Birch, Barnhill, Bergqvist, Soderberg, another regular. Shim, I think I saw in some of the chat that Shim is on a fixed gear tonight, so that's going to be difficult for him. Brady, Morgan, Paul Watmer, I think he's a UK rider. I think he's a master actually too. So an older rider, like myself. Dyer, so some familiar names up there, getting ready now. So 2.2 kilometers to go. We're coming up to the end of this 4th lap, and that's when it should really start to get going. So I'm seeing numbers at the back there, 44, 45, so still a sizable bunch here. Last week we had quite difficult courses, some strange courses, and I didn't leave much time between races. I deliberately made it difficult. This week, I wouldn't say it's easy. The racing is as hard as you make it, but I've kept it fairly simple. This is a nice flat course, almost flat as a pancake, and it is Pancake Tuesday. For those who don't know that, Shrove Tuesday it's the day before the start of Lent. You probably know it from things like the Brazilian Carnival and big festivals. New Orleans has a carnival as well. In the UK, we call it Shrove Tuesday or Pancake Day. So people will be enjoying their pancakes after this as a reward for their efforts. So now we're coming up to the pointy end of the race. We've got 1.3 kilometers to go. We've still got a big bunch fighting this out. And now it's all about keeping position at the front of the bunch. Mike there making sure he's up the front. Hervé, I think I've not seen that name before. I think he might be a new rider, but they're not going to let anybody get away. They're going to make sure that they're up the front. Mike's going to stay there. I think we should see Mathieu Drujon coming through fairly soon. PDQ. So still 40 riders. And we're coming up now in the final kilometer. So we're going to go around this corner. And I think, if I remember correctly, most of it is, not sure if we have enough. No, we should have one more corner and then coming up to the finish line. So there we are. Shim, Lister, Moni is another regular, Brady. These are all the regulars, making sure they're right up the front. That's the best place to be so that you are ready for any attacks. And you also get the draft. If somebody comes past you, you can jump on their wheel. And we're going to need to be putting out some big power at the end here. So there's Shim still going along, 200, 300 watts. At the end of this, we should be seeing people putting out 600, 700 watts. So 500 meters to go. This is the point where if you aren't at the front, then you're really not going to be in with much of a chance of winning. Or you need to, oh, Mathieu Drujon, we didn't see that. Mathieu Drujon has put in a big effort. He's crept away there. He's got I'm not sure how much distance he's got. Oh, they're catching him on the corner there. Yep, I think that's Drujon. Nope, sorry. That's Copsey up the front. So they have caught Drujon. He made a big effort. Copsey coming up. Lister on his tail. Copsey, Lister, Copsey. I didn't see who was Drujon. He stayed away. He did stay away. So Mathieu Drujon stayed away. Wow, having made that effort, having made that big attack, and then being able to stay away from the bunch or kick again, that's a fantastic effort. And then Copsey coming second. Who's that? My screen is slightly blurred. In third. Let me see. Oh, no, so third Maidment. And Mike's going to, Damon, who runs ZMS, is going to put up the results of at least the top 30 in the next race. So we should be able to see that. And I can also look them up on the fabulous RGT.com. And I will do that right now. So we can see they don't take too long to come up on RGT. I should have got that organized, so I'm just doing that on my iPad now to make sure that I can see the results. So if Mike is there, he can do them on the fly, but I'll just check here. So results. Oh, Mike's on the mic. I'm not hearing Mike, so this is the technical.
Yeah.
Oh, there we are. Now I can hear him. Hey, Mike, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks.
Hey, you were fourth there. Well done, fourth.
Yeah,
that was a close finish. That was a huge kick from Matthew, wasn't it?
I saw him go just before that penultimate corner. That last corner, you really had to be in the front 10 going into that corner. I think that's what he did, is he pushed to make sure he was in the front, and he eased up just around the corner to allow a few of us to overtake, give him a little draft.
Very
and then
clever.
He kicked again.
Yeah, having that ability to kick again is just that's amazing. So how was the course?
Yeah, not too bad. Like I said, those last two corners, you really had to watch your position it was a bit easy to be stuck on the outside. So once you sort of work that out from the first couple of laps, that's why I had to make sure I followed Grosjean on that final lap, make sure I was in a good position. Otherwise, if you're on the outside, you could lose 20 places just on that final corner.
Yeah, the corners were quite sharp, weren't they?
Yeah, the first one and the last one. I tried to do the same as Grosjean. I just let Kops come in front of me. But I think that momentary lapse, it just allowed Grosjean to kick and he got away. And then, yeah, Kops and Maidment was pretty close up there. Toffoli as well, 5th place. He's a strong finisher.
Yeah. No, he always does well in scratch. Well, actually, he does well overall, doesn't he? So yeah, Matt Looker there in 11th. Gavinat, Ben Phillips in 18th. So you know, a few of those names not done so well as you. So yeah, 4th is a good result to start off with.
Yeah, no, they're taking 4th off the bat. Yeah, John T. Williamson, he's going to be strong in the TT. He's down in 27th there. So yeah, it's always good to start well.
Yep, and pay attention this week. I was watching last week. You were too busy talking when those sprints were coming up.
They were pretty close together last week.
I know. I was a bit mean last week, wasn't I?
I've got 5 minutes, so I should be okay.
Yeah. Well, I left plenty of time gaps this week. So yeah, just to explain to people. In fact, while we do that, I need to make sure I put. See, this is my multitasking. I'm not used to this multitasking. So, because while I'm doing this and talking to you, I'm also having to put instructions on screen so that people know what they're doing. So, so I've just put it up there now. So
updating the series.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So you're much more of a multitasker than I am.
Well, it's pretty streamlined in the background now.
Yeah.
It looks like someone's beating me to it. There's someone else in one of the other admins have jumped in.
Really?
That's good. That's handy.
Might be Alex often does the updates when it's going on. So bless him.
Yeah, Alex or Maxine Turcott. He's the other admin that does a lot.
Oh, is he? I didn't realise Maxine was as well. Cool. So yeah. So what have we got? Yeah. So okay, this one is. So yeah, just to explain, I'll just explain to viewers what this one is. So this is a sprint. It's a single lap sprint of a Magic Road velodrome, Ville Piste. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. It's Belgian, so my Belgian accent is probably terrible. Hulshout is a place in Belgium. 380 meters, so it's a pretty short sprint. And the time that you see on screen is not the time. So everybody starts as a staggered start. So people will go off every 5 seconds from the first. I think I'm seeing there Watchman looks like he's the first one on the line. So that rider will start going off and then they go off every 5 seconds. So the time that you see on screen is the time for the rider who we're watching at the time. So I think at the moment our time is on Paul Watmer. So he will be going off in 2:47, but other riders, I'm sure Damon will choose other riders as we go along, and other riders will go off at different times. What's your time, Mike? Have we lost no mics?
I am on, let's double check this. I've got 3 minutes 20 to go.
3:20, okay.
Yeah,
so
I'm on the front row. I got in nice and early.
Okay, yeah, well, you finished 4th, so you should be. So.
Well, it's all tactics, isn't it? Do you jump into the sprint early and sacrifice a little bit of rest for the sprint, or I want to get into the TT early, so that's why I've jumped into this early. I can get out quick and into the TT. Yeah.
I'm really hoping that one day that RGT, the information would be there, but if I could see the results by time across the finish line rather than time in the TT, then something like this you could do as a handicap event, especially if you ran it after the elimination, when theoretically the weaker riders should then have the chance to go first into a TT. But that's one to come.
I'm sure we'll get there eventually.
Yeah, no, absolutely. They look like they're they're very keen to keep things happening and keep things moving. So that's what we like. I mean, this sort of racing is just, it's I think that's why people are so enjoying it, because it's great, that we can do something different. We've got 87 riders on the line, and Watman's starting in 111, but I think he looks like he's about 5th or 6th across, so we should start seeing riders going off fairly soon. So 380 meters. What sort of power are you going to do for this, Mike? 700, 800 watts?
Oh yeah, I was just trying to think in my head. So I think it was something like 27 seconds, something like that. I can't quite remember.
Under 30 seconds for sure. Yeah.
I think for Herne Hill, which is 500 meters, then I can do that in about 34. That's about 10 watts a kilo. So yeah, 750, 800 watts.
Yep.
But the trick is you've got to watch at the start, because you start quite slowly. You don't get to start your effort until you cross the start line. So
yes,
you don't want to waste that energy in the first few seconds.
Yeah. Yeah, so you've got that 10 meters, which is, some people, we'll see how they go. So I've already got 6 seconds. So this might be the first rider going off. I'm not sure. I haven't seen anybody go off yet. So it could be the event. So, okay, right. So hopefully we will see people starting to go off fairly soon. There we go. There's Watchman going off. We're seeing so my timing should be okay on this one. What always worries me when I'm setting timing on this is you have to leave enough time. If 200 riders showed up, then I would need 200 times 5 seconds, and I wouldn't have enough. But if only 50 show up, then you've got too much time for them waiting around. Okay, here we go.
Right, because I've got 10 seconds to go.
Yep, go on, Mike. Yep, good luck. Okay, Burnley. Unfortunately, my resolution is not big enough to see. Oh, Klotz looks like he's catching him. Oh my God, he's coming past him. Now that on a 380 meter track with a 5 second gap, that is pretty impressive to be going past him there. Anybody who's done time trials will know the concept of a minute man, when you go off 1 minute after another rider, and you see them up ahead, and being caught by your minute man is always a very dispiriting thing, unless your minute man is Brad Wiggins or somebody. So there's Mike going on. Max just finished, just crossed the line now. So we've got some big numbers going off here.
Hey, second place.
Second place. Well done, Mike. Right. Wow. Who's in first place? I'm not seeing the results yet. Oh, there we are. There's some results coming up. Oh, there are lots of nice red numbers there. Ronkanen. Yeah, looks like, yep, crossing the line there. PDQ should be pretty strong. What have we got? 7, is that 7, 8 watts per kilo? Oh, wow, going up into double digits there, I think, at the end. Putting in a big effort. Here they go. Tatum coming up as well. The other thing I like about this format is seeing people, coming across the line. Ash, now he should be doing, Gavin Ash, he's a very strong sprinter. Would have a very good chance of being high up in this event. What do we got here? Ellis, Birch. Has Ellis just gone past Birch? Wow. So we've got some big numbers being put out here. I'm just going to try and have a look on my other screen and see if I can see who's still going off. Brock Houston, feeling more and more lead in my shoes. Well, yeah, somebody else, Chris Berg, we limited to 10 kilometers an hour. So just to explain to you, if we, if we see somebody going off on the front, see how the riders are there behind the line, and what happens at the start of the race. Here's Matt Looker. He should be doing very well now. Yeah, putting in some big red numbers there. Yeah, what happens is you start 10 meters back from the line. Oh, okay. Oh, we're getting some live results here. So where are we? Oh, Mike, you've been pushed down to 5th. Francis Lambert, 24.9. That's the top one so far. Still, top 10 in a in the sprint is a pretty good result. And it looks like most people have, oh no, we've still got a few still to go. So yeah, what happens, I was explaining, so what happens at the start is you're 10 meters behind the line and your power is capped until you go under that that overhead banner. So what happens, some people sort of miss, they don't understand how it works and they go off full blast for the start, which means they've lost all that, you know, really big power. So what you have to do is ramp up and you get to the line, and by the line you should be going at full bore, otherwise you're going to lose all that power and then you get a really big push as you cross the line. So La Roche now, was like better
down the rankings. I can see my position going.
Are you?
Down to 7th.
Still, there's not many more to go, I don't think. So, you know, you should be safe for the top 10. Who's any bigger? Has Steve May's gone yet? Steve May's and Gavin Ash, they're big sprinters. I haven't seen their names yet.
Actually,
but...
well, Gavin's down in 17th.
Oh, really? Okay, that's interesting. That's interesting. And Steve Mays, has he gone yet?
Tell you what, Francis Lambert's had a stormer. He's 1.2 ahead of everyone else.
Really? Wow, that is good. That is good.
First place.
Yeah.
Oh, Drujon.
Oh, really?
And Eagle Cops as well. I've been bumped down to 11th.
Oh.
So you've got big numbers there as well.
Yeah.
11.45 average watts per kilo for Drujon.
Wow. And what was it, 24 seconds?
24.8, yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
Cops is up at 11.03.
Wow. So that's for a long time. That's pretty impressive for that length of time, isn't it? I mean, I can do 11, but not for 25 seconds.
Well, I think I might have put my power down at the wrong time. I've got 10.37, so that puts me as the fifth highest watts per kilo, but I'm down in 11th place with that.
Okay.
But then I guess it's also ultimate power, isn't it? It's not just watts per kilo, it's a short flat course.
Yeah. And did you notice last time we'd used this course, people said that they had a bit of braking on some of the corners, but did you notice any of that this time?
No, I didn't notice any of that today, so that was good.
Yeah, because RGT, again, for those who are viewing and listening, RGT have changed some of the little bit of the physics. So on this course, what we found last time we did it was that on some of the corners, there was some of the auto braking. So I'm familiar with RGT. The white power number that's up there now goes red on a tight corner. You'll see it. You would have seen it in the crit, and that means that auto braking is being applied. It's one of the good things about RGT, but not so good on a velodrome where you really aren't braking. I mean, track bikes don't have brakes for a start, and especially on a sprint like this, you are just going absolutely full bore around the corners. Of course, on a real velodrome, you have banking that holds you down, although you still have to control the bike and make sure that you take the shortest line, stay close to the bottom. If you go, even a couple of meters up, then it adds 2 or 3 meters to the distance you have to go around the corner, and that can be all the difference between winning and losing a sprint, and certainly winning or losing a race when you have to go around somebody and get your nose into the wind. So seeing good numbers here. We're seeing it's a little bit lower, but we're seeing a few people there coming over 500, 600 watts. Good that they can maintain that. I mean, I did this a few weeks ago. I tried to I kept over 600 watts the whole way around. I'm not a sprinter. Oh, Charlie Roberge. I know Charlie is a clubmate of mine at Dulwich Paragon. Charlie is a female Charlie, by the way. Charlie is a Canadian, former Canadian, it might even be current too, Canadian Masters national champion. So in time trialing, so on the track. So good to see Charlie down here. I've been trying to get some of my club mates from Dulwich Paragon and also Herne Hill Velodrome, where I ride track, to come and do some of the races. So I think we're done now. I'm not seeing any more riders. Well, anybody who's still there isn't going to be going off. So I'm going to close this and go into the next event and see who's ready there. Hopefully everybody will jump across. So there we have some results there. So Matthew Drujon, wow, that's a second win. Yeah, of course. So 24.8 seconds. Only 0.1 seconds ahead of Francis Lambert. Igor Kops in third place. Davide Loro, haven't come across him before, but obviously he's got pretty strong legs. Sounds like a Spanish name. I've been advertising this on the Spanish RGT group, partly because I'm learning Spanish, so I'm trying to improve my Spanish. Stefan Klessens in fifth, William Hornby, Aaron Watchman, Chris Barg, he's a regular, Chris Jones, Shim, and Mike. Wow, got pushed all the way down to 13th. So not so great for the Omnium, but he'll be looking to get that back. Matt Looker in 21.
Yeah, I think other than Drujon and Igor Kops, I'm still pretty high up compared to...
Yeah, that's true. Not many of those people are going to be ahead of you, or Lambert maybe, but not many of those people are going to be ahead of you in the other... I mean, some will be ahead, but not in both races. So, and you had fourth in the scratch as well. So you're still pretty well placed.
Yeah, I just had a little look at my power numbers on Strava. So I was, I think, pretty consistent. I was 850 watts average.
Wow.
25, 26 seconds. And I peaked at 950. So I didn't go out too hard and fade. I've done that in the past. So I think I probably pitched it about right, a little bit down on my, what would be my sort of 25-second best, which is 950. So yeah, maybe could have gone a bit harder, but I'm a bit fatigued. I will say I've been racing a lot last week, Echelon over the weekend as well. So
do you ever do training? Do you only do races?
Pretty much. I do a few little group rides. So I do a recon ride for the team time trial on Monday evenings.
Of course, yeah.
That's normally a sort of 45-minute gentle ride. Tuesday night is track night, so that's actually 4 hard races back to back. Wednesday I tend to do the Virtue Slow Ronda event, which is normally about an hour and 20 to an hour and a half. That's
quite a long one, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, sort of usually a 50-kilometer race. Thursday tends to be a team time trial, testing of a route. And then Friday, well, I might be doing the last week I did basically a downhill race, which is quite casual really. And then I did the SDW, the Southborough and District Leader. They did a new race that they started on Friday evenings. Oh,
Friday Frenzy. Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, so that was about 25 minutes. And then I did Echelon Saturday evening, and so that was about an hour, well, 50 minutes that was a crit race, which I got my first Echelon win, so I was pretty chuffed with that.
Cool.
And then Sunday, that was the second Echelon race, which was 3 laps of Dirty Reaver, which was pretty much an hour and 45 minutes. So yeah, that was pretty tough.
Yeah. Wow. God, well, I don't know how you do it, mate. That's every day. Wow, you need some rest days. I mean, I say that with feeling, having just been diagnosed with a heart problem from doing too much training. So,
talking about my heart rate monitor's packed in tonight. That's not working. So, no idea what my heart rate's doing.
Don't look at it. That's how it happened to me. If I hadn't looked at it, I would never have gone to the doctor, and I would still be racing. There you go. So we've got 2 minutes now. 2 minutes now to this time trial. So just to explain what's happening here. So this is an individual time trial. What we do in these time trials, which RGT's setup allows us to do, is it's a mass start. So unlike the last one, which is a staggered start, and a real lifetime trial where people normally go off, at 1 minute intervals, it's a mass start, but there's no draft. So actually, I really like it. And, when I was racing these were where I usually did best. you get to see, you don't get the benefit of the draft, but you do get to see people, you know, who've maybe gone out a bit ahead. You can see if you're catching somebody, you can see if somebody's catching you. There's quite a bit of, it's often interesting to watch people have, you know, a bit of a sort of tactical battle, or, you know, they see that they're catching somebody and they put in a little bit more effort. Or you can, you know, or if you see somebody's 40, 50 meters ahead, you think, well, there's no point in me being, you know, 10 meters behind them as opposed to 50 meters behind them. I'm still going to get the same place at the end of the day. It's not about timing, it's about placing for the Omnium. So the time doesn't matter. So we've got just under a minute now. So this one is 5.8 kilometers. I'd expect the top riders will do this in maybe 8-9 minutes, and the slower riders should be sort of 12 or 13. Well, it's not a flat course actually. It's got a bit of a drag going up, and there's a few kicks. The people who are riding the race can see the profile, and there's a few red sections there. But this is the Suzuka Formula One GP course. Often use these TT courses because they're a good length for our racing, which, you know, we want to be about 10-12 minutes. So here we go, final 10 seconds. Now everybody will be warming up, and what, you know, always happens is there'll be people who go off too hard and can't sustain it. The art of time trialing is being able to make a very constant effort and keep it going for the whole way through. So there's Mike going off. I hope he hasn't gone off too hard. So he's doing 330, 300. What's who are we seeing now? Ben Phillips coming up. I thought it was
downhill, so I wanted to get a nice up to speed early.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. And the other thing about, you know, these time trials, especially if it's a rolling course like this, or as we call it in the UK, a sporting course, you get a better time by putting in a harder effort. So say you're looking for an average of you know, let's say your average that you expect over the time trial is 350 watts. You get a faster time by doing 400 watts on the uphills and 300 watts on the downhills. The uphills are where you make a real difference and you put more time into other riders. So what we'll see, we're coming up to the first of these hills. You can see it on the profile now. You can see the first drag. So the clever riders will be putting in their effort there and saving it when they go down towards the end of the race. Second half of the race, there are some downhills, and that's where they can coast a bit. So there we're seeing Alan McIntyre, who is, you know, usually a top 10 in the time trials. He's doing 350, high 300s, even a bit up to over 400. You need to keep it steady. You don't want to be up and down. You don't want to be fluctuating too much in the time trial. So there's Igor Kops, who came second in that first scratch race. Wow, he's staying above 400. That's good steady pace. You see he's going, we've changed back to Alan, but when we saw Igor there, he was going between 400 and 420. So keeping a good, consistent power, not going all over the place. Alan going up to 500, down to 300, perhaps fluctuating a little bit too much there. Now you see some riders going past him. That's a sign that, you know, when he's fluctuating like that he's maybe getting into a bit of trouble. Maybe he's putting a little bit too much effort. So here's Kops now, still keeping that 400. That's really impressive. If he can keep that going, and if he's timed it, that he, you know, if he knows that he can do 400 watts for 8 or 9 minutes, then hopefully he'll keep that going the whole way through. Now we see Gavin Ash is just coming to the top of this climb, so he's putting in a bit of an effort to make sure he's got a little bit of a gap there over Mike, who's just behind him. So Ash there doing over 5 watts per kilo. Kops steady, constantly over 5 watts per kilo. Mike there just easing off as we get to the top and going back to 4 watts per kilo. Jones there still at 4. You know, so you'd expect sort of 4 to 5 watts per kilo is a pretty good time. Bergfist is another very good time trialist. He's able to keep a very steady pace. Drujon is also a canny time trialist. He'll keep a good pace and he'll just pick riders off. You see these 4 riders together now, Drujon, Jones, Lister, Bergfist. There's not much of a gap between them. So at any time, you know, one of them could ease back a bit and lose position, or the other rider, if they're clever, they'll get to one of these climbs and put in a little bit of an effort and get in front. And if they can just keep pulling away a meter at a time, then they'll that will add up over the course of the race. So now we're coming up to the second of these little drags. This is a short but quite steep one. I think it goes up to sort of 10-11%. We're about to find out. There's Matt Looker there in 9th place. He's also doing very well. He's a good time trialist. Copse maintains his lead, and he's got a good 50 meters now. That's unlikely, I think, that that he's going to be overhauled. And I think unlikely, given the steadiness of his power, unlikely that he's going to suddenly crash or suddenly lose his power. And Drujon now has moved up to 3rd place. So he skipped over that little group of riders, and he's now got a little bit of a gap over Bergqvist, Claessens, Jones, Mike. That's fading a little bit. I don't know if Mike's still listening to me. I don't want to demotivate him while we're listening. So Soderberg there in 8th, Looker in 9th. So there's still a bit of a gap. What have we got? 32, 34. So there's riders within a couple of meters of each other there. McIntyre only a few meters behind Looker there, and then Soderberg and then Nister. So I'd say those 4 riders could theoretically think I could move up those places and get those points. Obviously, top 10 points is what you're looking at for track league. So here we are back to Copse, the leader. He's done 3.3 kilometers and he's got 2.5 to go. And definitely the hardest part of this race is the first half. I think actually Copse is now over there. Yep, you see on the profile there, that drag that he's just come up, that's the last of the climb. So from here on in, he should be able to ease off a little bit. They've got a little plateau and then a bit of a descent. And if he's doing the splits the way that I think he should be doing it, then we should see Copse easing off a little bit on some of those downhills. Here's Drujon coming up on Ash. He's very, very good at pacing himself in here. So Drujon doing 450, 500 watts. They're just getting to the top of this climb. He timed it perfectly. Beautiful work there from Matthew Drujon, coming past Gavin Ash just as they got to the top of that climb. You get a few meters over the top of a climb, and that turns into 20 meters as you come down the other side. That's part of the art of timing your move. When you go down the other side, the gap suddenly looks a lot bigger. And then the rider behind gets a little bit demotivated and thinks, well, I'll just settle in and take 3rd place here. So nobody's going to go past Copse. What's he got? 100? Is that 140 meters ahead of the others? And he's still doing a steady 400, 450 watts along the plateau here, along the flat. And then he's got a little bit more of a downhill and then a flat run into the finish. So we're now with Birch in 16th place. So 16's doing Klotz now back in 17th. So we're going back through the field now. We're seeing some of the power that gets you mid-table. So we're talking about 250, 300 watts. They're doing 3.5 watts per kilo. What matters more in a time trial, especially on the flat stages of a time trial like this, is outright power. So you can have slightly better watts per kilo, but if you might have 4 watts per kilo, but if your 4 watts per kilo is 240 watts and somebody else is doing 3.8 watts per kilo, but that 3.8 is 350 watts, then they'll end up going faster than you. That's just the way the physics works. So Drujon here has a good gap now, 25 meters over Ash. Ash there in the yellow into orange. Yellow means he's at threshold of his hour power. Orange means he's going into VO2. Copse now steadily in threshold. He doesn't need to do much here. He's going to green even, which is tempo, so just below. He's now on the downhill. Coming in, he's got 500 meters to go. It's a downhill and then an easy run into the finish. So he's definitely going to take this race by a very good margin. But the margin doesn't matter. He's going to get 1st place and he gets 12 points in the track league and he gets 1 point in the Omnium. But at the end of the day, whether he wins by 250 meters or 2 meters, he still gets the same number of points. But fantastic win. 400 watts still all the way to the end. That's a very, very impressive finish. His Drujon coming in, he's also doesn't need to put in any power now. Riders are now be thinking, well, you know, I am where I am. I've got the elimination, the final race coming up. So we're just going to take it easy, consolidate your place unless you're under threat. So now we're seeing some close. Gavin Ash just holding Bergqvist. He's very good. I've seen him do this before, make, you know, really well-timed effort. He didn't quite overhaul Ash at the end there. Clayson's coming in, Jones coming in 6th. Are we seeing any close battles? Yeah, I think Mike Soderberg and McIntyre are in a close battle. Yeah, look at this, 8th, 9th. There's 3 riders there. Just crossed the line. So Mike held them off. I've got Jerome Clisson coming in 12th. Moni in 13th. Oh, Lambert, whoa! I don't think he quite made it, but that's what I mean about making a big effort to get that place at the front, especially because he did well in the sprint. So he'll be looking to do well overall in the Omnium. So every place counts in the Omnium. The other reason every place counts is that these races are being counted towards the new ranking system that RGTdb have produced. We're really looking forward to seeing some results from that. So it's a results-based system, but it's based on, for those who are familiar with it, what they call there's Mike Murray coming over in 34th. What's called the ELO system, which has been used for many years in chess. It works on a one-to-one basis where you get more points for beating a chess player who is ranked higher than you. If you beat someone lower than you, well, the ranking system says, well, you were supposed to do that, so you don't get as many points. It's been applied to racing. It's a little bit more difficult to do, obviously, when you're in a multi-competitor environment. But Mike Swart, and Mike is also part of the RGT team, Mike Swart and some of the clever people at RGTdb, which is not officially part of RGT. They're, you know, like many of us, a volunteer group who are doing it to improve the platform and make it work for everybody. They've come up with a way to do it in a multi-rider environment. So at the moment, it's still in the early stages, but it is important. So if you can finish ahead of somebody, then especially if that person was ranked higher than you, then you take some of their points. What you don't want is for somebody who is lower than you to finish ahead and take some of your points. So every position matters in the Omnium because it counts towards your overall position, and every position matters in the ranking because it's going to count towards your ranking. And the rankings have been sorted into general groups, which will, roughly speaking, work as race categories. So bronze, silver, gold, and platinum. And my rider there, as you see, I've been starting on the starting line. I'm going to end up with a terrible result because if basically you come last and you lose it. So there we go. The results there of race 3. Igor Kops gets so Igor Kops has now had a 2nd, a 3rd, and a 1st. That's pretty impressive, and that could mean that Mike needs to put in a big effort in the elimination and hope that Kops goes out early to secure. And Drujon first, and 2nd. So what's the math? So Drujon must be ahead when it comes to the overall Omnium. He'll have 4 points. Kops will have 6 points. So that looks like our leaders in the Omnium so far. That's pretty impressive. So Drujon, yeah, absolutely.
He has really gosh. I think he's won the last 2 eliminations.
Yeah. Right, I quickly need to go in. I didn't realise that. So we've only got 3 minutes now until the start of the elimination, and I need to go in and give the riders there a little bit of a briefing. Normally on track, what happens is everybody lines up on the inner, and the race commissaire gives them a bit of a briefing about what's happening in the race. We don't get to do that here, so we have my virtual commissaire hat, which is doing it by chat on the screen, and I'm just about to tell them what this one is. So race 4, elimination, or as we call it, the devil. I'll tell you about that a little bit later on. But this race is 3 neutral laps. So it's on a virtual circuit of Herne Hill velodrome, which is near me in South London, where I do my track racing. It is one of the oldest, it's not the oldest, but it is a very old velodrome. It was built in 1890 something, I think, I'm not sure. But it was used in the 1948 London Olympics, and it's the only venue from the 1948 London Olympics, which is still standing. Fell into disrepair a few years ago, as many outdoor velodromes have done. There were problems with the surface, and there was a big effort by supporters and money chipped in by government and British Cycling to resurface it, fix up the pavilion and the seating area, and now it's a fantastic venue. I love going down there. I love track nights during summer, on lovely summer evenings when you can go in the races and then sit around afterwards and have a beer and watch the racing. It's a fantastic venue. If you're ever up in London on a summer evening, go and check it out and check out some of the racing there. So we have three laps, positioning laps. Less important here, but in a real race, it would be, where you're making sure you're up the front. And then every lap after that, the three riders at the back get eliminated. So it's going to be fast and furious. How many riders do we have on the line? 80 riders. So yeah, I mean, lapped riders are also eliminated. So that can mean that it's not a matter of just three riders out for 80 and what would that be, 26 laps. It will be less than that, probably be under 20 laps, I would think. But it's still quite an effort, and having to do that sprint every time you come around and make sure you're not at the back is quite an effort. So here we go, under 10 seconds now, ready to start the elimination. It'll be a fast start, but hopefully with the three neutral laps, people won't be going crazy. So off we go. There we go. Toffoli always does well in the elimination. I see his name going off from the front. Come on, riders, keep in that group. And it's still a fast start. There we go. Riders going in the red off the front. I don't think on a track of this distance, it's a 450 meter or 500 meter track in RGT. I don't think in this distance anybody's going to lap the field. Theoretically, if somebody could lap the field, and I was hoping maybe it would happen on the Hulshout velodrome, then everybody would be put out. So if one rider could lap the whole field, they would win the race by getting everybody out. Or if a small group could lap the field, they would put everybody out all in one fell swoop. Not going to happen on a 500 meter track. Very rarely happens in, I can't think that I've seen it happen in real life on Herne Hill velodrome. In a real elimination race on the track, you don't lap. You can take a lap on the field, but you just rejoin the bunch. And in fact, there are some rules where the commissaire can say, well, if you're off the back and you're trying to take the lap, then you are actually eliminated. It's a lot easier in virtual. So I think we've got one more lap to go before we start the eliminations. It usually comes up on screen to tell us. There's still people being lapped and eliminated, so we're down to 73 already. Harry Tozer, I love Harry Tozer. He comes every week. He never finishes, he's always down towards the bottom of the races, but I give credit for turning up every week. And obviously it's great. As an organizer, I really do. I don't want to sound condescending. I really love those people because it's great that you have the Drujons and the listers and the people who win the races, but to see people turning up every week without any chance of winning a race means that they're just enjoying the races. And as an organizer, that's what you really want. So here we go. We're in the first elimination lap now. And we've got Thomas, I don't think, Charlie's been lapped and eliminated. I'm very surprised. Charlie usually gets in a pretty good effort. We've got a big bunch ahead there who look like they're going to be lapped shortly. If this bunch was clever, they'd wait until they'd crossed the line. But I don't think this bunch needs to be too worried. It can be really hard to work out what's happening in the elimination race. So it looks like we've got a group of about 50 riders here, and the last people out were what were we down to? 67. So that means that somewhere behind this front group there are still 15, 16, 17 riders who aren't in this group. So these guys really don't need to be making a big effort, even when it comes to the elimination, because there are people behind them. Nobody in this front group is at present in danger of being eliminated. And what they need to be doing in the race is making sure that they are watching to see who is, to make sure they're watching to see how many are in their group, what number the eliminations are down to, and that way they can work out whether the eliminations are coming from their group. Also looking at the timing. So if you've crossed the line and then the notice comes up that somebody's been eliminated 10 seconds later, you know that they weren't in your group. So it's a way of making sure that you aren't putting in more effort than you need to be. But people get nervous. You know, people are in the elimination lap. They want to make sure they're up the front. So here we go, see Herne Hill putting in the red as he crosses the line to make sure that he's not eliminated. As I say, I don't think they've got any chance of being eliminated at this point. We've got Burnley now in 62nd place. So there's still people off the back who are not part of this front group, and this front group are not in danger of being eliminated. So there we go. Tozer, Burnley, Clegham, and now we're seeing riders up the front. I'm just looking at another screen here. I've got a group of riders in sort of 50th place, 50 and below. So they're still off the back of this group, and this group doesn't need to be worried. And there we see some riders as the pace goes up. So everybody's sprinting as they cross the line each time, and that's taking its toll on some of the riders at the back of the group, some of the weaker riders, some of the people who just, you know, what happens, this is now the 4th race that these guys have done. And, you know, there's only so many matches. We're talking about, you know, people being able to burn matches. People only have so many matches that they can burn. You've done a hard scratch race, you've done a sprint, you've done a TT, which is a solid sustained effort. And by the time you get to these 4th elimination race, the legs just aren't always responding the way that you hope that they would. So who are we seeing now? We're still down to the 50s. We've still got a rider at 58, who's still Bednall, Clive Bednall. He's another rider from Herne Hill. Races in Herne Hill Vets, which is where I race. So there we go. Newell across the line last and Younger. So look, those eliminations, as you see, are coming as the front group is coming up to the line. So that means that there are riders way behind this group. But hey, they're gonna go in the red. They're gonna put the hammer down. They're gonna make sure they're not there. And well, you know, if they can put some pain into people, then that's also part of the effect. If they can make people suffer as the pace goes up and down, as they have to sprint to get back onto the group, maybe they get in the wrong position around some of these corners. There's Hornby now. I thought he might have been making an effort off the front, but no, the group has caught him. I really want somebody to make a big effort to split the group and to try and, you know, maybe not lap everybody, but at least create a break. We haven't seen it. Often happens on the track. Sometimes down the track at Herne Hill, we get some of the younger riders. There are, I think, at least 4 riders in the current pro tour, like the World Tour, who not last year because because coronavirus, we didn't have much of a season, but the year before they were racing in Herne Hill Track League. And sometimes, you know, seeing those guys ride, it's just amazing, you know, how much of a lead they can get, but also if somebody has got a lead, how quickly they can shut it down. There's a world of difference between us, even good amateurs, and those guys who are at pro level. Fred Wright is one of them. Fred Wright, riding for Bahrain Merida. He's being talked about as one of the big upcoming talents of UK road cycling. His father, Phil Wright, is a regular organiser down at Herne Hill, and also one of the regular characters in EastEnders. Plays a detective inspector in EastEnders. So look out for him in the credits if you watch EastEnders. That's for any foreign viewers. That's a soap opera, long-running soap opera on BBC here. So there you go. He's definitely the only rider in the World Tour who has a father starring in EastEnders. Phil is a lovely guy, does a lot of organising and volunteering at Herne Hill to keep the place going. It's all run by volunteers and supported by, well, the money they can make running races and donations. So now I've lost track of the number of laps that we've done, but we're now we're into the 40s now. There's still riders off the back of this front group, but they're going to continue pushing for position. We've got riders now in 47th, 48th, Ronkanen and Tev. So I think we're down to, 46, I think, 47. It says Moni, Canadian rider, who's initiated that elimination lap. It's not going to get really tasty. So we're into the 40s now. I mean, I think when it gets down into the 20s is when, I think by the time it gets down to the 20s, this group will have split up. People keep dropping off the back of this group. I think by the time it gets to the front group, it'll probably be down to the 20s. And that's when things will start to get really difficult. And people, then you have to really pay attention and make sure that you're not at the back of the group. In real life, if anybody hasn't done an elimination race in life, they tend to actually be pretty steady. What tends to happen, and the way a lot of clever people ride it, the place to be is up the front. You have to be up the front of the group. And what happens is there's often a bit of pushing for position to get up the front. But then a lot of people often are happy to sit on your wheel. If you have a sort of diesel engine and you're happy to sit on the front of the group, people will be happy to sit in your draft and get a bit of an assist as they go around, get the draft and stay there. And so they'll let you stay on the front. And then you don't have to worry too much. The worst place to be in a real life elimination is sort of there at the back, like where we're seeing McIntyre there, because what happens is riders are in front of you, you can't go past them. Riders who are at the back maybe have a bit more room if they're out wide and up the banking, so they can make a sudden effort at the end and push past the group. And if you're at the back but down the bottom, you've got nowhere to go. You've got no choice. You've got wheels in front of you. You can't go through them like you can in a virtual environment. And so you tend to get eliminated. So the rider at the bottom, at the back, tends to be the one who gets eliminated in the race. We're now down. McIntyre, still riding, but I think he's realised that he's had enough. He's burned his matches. He's going to set off a 34th place, and he'll be going out fairly soon. So we should be getting down to this front group, because McIntyre was in this group until pretty recently. Somebody asked me actually on one of the forums recently, why do I call it a devil in TNT? I didn't realise that this wasn't a common term around the world, but in the UK we call it the devil because it comes from the saying, it's an old proverb of sort of every man for himself and devil take the hindmost. So in other words, you leave people the slowest will be caught by the devil. It's a bit like the modern phrase, if you're being chased by a bear, you don't need to run faster than the bear, you just need to run faster than the people that you're with. So the bear catches the people at the back. So in this case, it's the devil who catches the people at the back. So yeah, devil take the hindmost is where it comes from, or just devil. So I like it. I mean, elimination race, okay, it's officially called the elimination race, and when it's run in the Omnium in the Olympics, it's the elimination race, but devil sounds a lot better, has a lot more of a feel to it. So, Mike Lister crossed the line last and is eliminated. Wow, what position was that? I'm really surprised. So we've got Howes now 26, so that means Mike has finished maybe 27th, 28th. That's not good for his overall. Oh, Mike, what happened?
I've got a bit stuck on the inside. I couldn't push past, and then we had like 33 riders to go, and then suddenly just a load got caught at once. I think we lapped someone right on the line.
Right. Yeah. So now we're into this lead group now. So we've got 24 riders.
Is it 3 riders every lap?
It is 3 riders every lap. Yeah.
I thought it was 2 riders.
No.
I thought it was every other lap.
Pay attention to the briefing, Mike. I say it every week.
I thought there was enough people behind me. Okay. That's disappointing.
Well, it can suddenly go that way, can't it? You think that there's people, like you say, you think there's people behind you on the track, and then somebody gets eliminated. So I did say in the commentary early on that I thought it would be in the 20s when it got to the front group, and that looks like what it was, high 20s. So we're now down to the front group. So what are we seeing now? 18th sorry, I'm off mic there because I'm looking at another screen. So we're seeing 18th place there for Soderbergh. Yep. Soderbergh going to the front now. He's going to make sure that he's not caught out in this elimination race.
I think I went too much, Chris. I was listening to your explanation of the devil. Yeah.
Funnily enough, it was Tanya, the Canadian lady who organises the Thursday night racings, who asked me, "Why do you call it a devil?" And she's been an Olympic track rider, but obviously devil is a particularly, but obviously devil is a peculiarly British term. So.
But yeah, I found it's like what you were saying. I was getting boxed in. Getting heavily breaking.
Really? Yeah. I mean, the physics can still be a bit odd on here. I think. I don't know whether it's Herne Hill or whether it's just the physics on the tight laps. There we go. Matthew, Miles, and Williamson are now out. So we're now getting down to 14. So we're getting very much to the pointy end now. There's Brachet. So this is where people have really got to. Every lap now, you've got to put in a big sprint as you cross the line to make sure you're not caught out. And I know what Mike means, and you can get this final corner as you come in towards the finish line. You think you're in the front, and you think you're in a good position, but then suddenly people seem to come over the top of you as you come down this little straight.
Well,
so who's going to come?
Might be gone there.
Oh,
yeah.
Who's out now? Cops, Brachet, Cops, and Murta. So we're now down to 11 riders now. And the way this works is we go down to the final 3. So the final 3 will battle it out. They'll do one final lap, even if it was 3 riders out every 2 laps. They just do one final lap after the last elimination. So we've got 11 riders. So this one should be 11, 10, and 9. So we'll have at least, say, 4 laps to go, 3 laps to go, and then the final riders will battle it out. So Matthew Drujon making sure he's in the lead there. Who's out there? Klotz, Hornby, and Jérôme Colisson. So now we're down to 8 riders. Matthew Drujon living dangerously at the back there, but making sure he's coming up to the front. We've got Bergqvist also making sure, putting it into the red there, going to the red numbers to make sure he's up. Yeah, he's putting in a big effort there to make sure he's in the front coming into this final corner. And they'll be trying to come over the top of him. That's always the problem. He's down to 4th, he's down to 5th. He needs to not let, oh, there we go. He kicked again and made sure he got over. So Drujon got caught there, and Ben Phillips and Gavin Ash. So Drujon, I think he'll still be safe because he finished higher than Cops. So I think that gives Drujon the Omnium for the night. Another good win for Matthew. Well done. So now we're down to the final. What's the number? Is that 5 riders? So 1 more elimination lap, and then the last 3 will battle it out. It gets hard by this point, doesn't it, Mike?
Yeah, because on this last one, you find that, like here, that the guy in white, and I thought he was going to go. Then you time it right, and you can just put in one hard effort. Yeah. If you've got it left in your legs.
Yeah, you cross that line, and you often find maybe the 3rd rider thinks, "Oh bugger it, I'm coming 3rd, so I'll settle for that." So Guillaume Toffoli there, he's often very high up here. They're coming out of the final corner. Everybody going into the red now. Jones leads it out. Toffoli's timed it perfectly, I think. He's going to come over the top. He's got a gap. He heads to the line. He's staying in the red. Toffoli ahead of Thomas and ahead of Jones. That's your final 3 in the elimination. Toffoli does very well in this elimination race. He's got the tactics and the legs to do well. Okay, so there's so Bergqvist ended up 5, Matthew Drujon in 6th, but as I say, I think that's going to give him the Omnium overall. Phillips, and Cops might end up. We need to check the Omnium results overall. So there we are. That's the TNT track racing. That's Tuesday night track for this week. We'll be back again next week. I'm not sure if Damon is planning to stream it next week. There's the results of race 3. We haven't got, not sure if we're going to bring up race 4, the elimination there. Nope, we're going to go to the end there. So thank you. Thanks for watching. I hope everybody enjoyed it. Hope everyone enjoyed the racing. We're back, certainly we're back racing next week, maybe back streaming. Have a great week, everybody. Thanks, Mike.
Yeah, cheers, Chris. Thanks, everyone.